Good morning, good morning. So happy Saturday. We are enjoying a little bit of sunshine here for the first time in like weeks, so I can't wait to get out for a little walk after this class. I'm enjoying a nice lazy Saturday morning. I hope you all are doing well today. Today's class I've entitled Echoing Nature, and we're just going to be playing with some lines and slow drawing and kind of mimicking these shapes that we might see in nature. But it's going to be very abstract, free-flowing. I've got some examples. Here's one I did a while back. And then I've got even a little bit more simple example. Sort of looks like a leaf or something along those lines. And one more. And you can make these as simple, as elaborate as you like. And I'll just give you some basic guidelines today on the process. So all you need is maybe 2 to 3, even 4 pieces of just small pieces of watercolor paper. So I like to get different sizes. So this is like 2 by 4, and this is a square. Oh, it's the back. This is a square. And then this shape here. In fact, I'm going to get rid of that one that has writing on it and grab a fresh one. This is probably as big as I would go. This is probably like 4 by 5 or somewhere along those lines. So just grab your supplies and get some drawing pens. I love my micron pigment pens, and I've got all different widths. You don't need more than one, but it's kind of nice to experiment with additional ones. And then if you have time, when we're done, we can play with watercolors. But I don't think I'm going to do that today, but certainly always fun to kind of go back and work back in and play around with color. But before we get started, I would just like to take a moment and do a few stretches. So I'm going to stand and step back. And I'm actually in my pajama pants today, so yay. Lazy Saturday morning, it feels so good. So let's get a little bit grounded, rooting your feet down to the earth. And just take a few rounds of cleansing breath. If it feels good, you can draw your eyes closed or just gently down, taking a soft gaze to the floor. Fingertips extend long, little bend in the knees. Think about drawing the tailbone down, drawing the navel towards the spine. Inhale, arms lift overhead, stretch on up. Exhale, release, side out. Inhale, arms lift. Exhale, release, side out. And one more cleansing breath. Inhale, arms lift, stretch up. Exhale, slowly let the palms press down as if you're going through mud. Sigh out the breath. And roll your shoulders back a few times. And forwards a few times. And let's just do a little bit of side stretching. So once again, arms come up. Bracelet your left wrist. Extend through your left side body. Rounding down through the left foot. Little arc to the right. And I love to use my hand just for that little extra pull, lengthening out through the whole side body. Inhale, come up. Switch your grip and let's root down through the right foot. Little arc to the left. Gentle pull with your left hand on your right wrist. Inhale, come back up. Interlace your hands, place them behind your head. Draw your elbows wide, lift your heart, squeeze your shoulder blades together. Take a little bend in the knees and once again draw the tailbone down. So a lot of action happening with no movement, little isometric movements. And release. Once again, shoulders roll back, shoulders roll forward. And you can even take a little twist side to side. That might feel good. All right. Let's get ready to draw. So come back to your seat. And let's start with just a short, brief meditation. And this week I've really been focusing on the moon as my yoga practice. I think I'm going to continue this probably for the next month. But next Wednesday, I believe, is the new moon. And right now we're in the final stages of the waning moon where it's getting smaller and smaller. And, it's a good time to let go of things. So the new moon is a great time to set your intentions for the next cycle. And this is the period to kind of be calm and focus on your energy, like drawing it inward and just letting go of something that's not serving you. This is a great practice, really anytime, but it's a nice reminder when we look at the cycles of the moon of you know, giving a little ease to ourselves and to our lives. So sit however is comfortable for you. Sit with a long, tall spine. If you're in a chair, preferably having your feet on the floor, right under your knees, being very grounded. Inhale deeply through the nose. Exhale, sigh it out. One more cleansing breath. And then gently draw your eyes to a close or soft gaze. And palms can sit gently on your thigh, facing down if you'd like a little grounding, meaning you're feeling a little bit spacey today. Or you can gently flip your palms up, facing the sky, if you need a little bit of energy this morning. And just begin to let your breath come to natural. Let your wrinkles between your eyebrows relax. Let your jaw relax and tongue is heavy. Noticing the quality of your breath as you inhale through your nostrils, feeling the coolness of the air on the breath in. And as you exhale, just gently release the breath, noticing the warmth on the exhale. And you may even want to do a little bit of a body scan, just noticing how you're feeling today. No judgment, just observing. Allowing your breath to soften any areas of tension. You might feel it in your shoulders, your neck. If you've been working at a computer all week, I know I always feel it there. Allow your shoulders to relax down your back. Imagine a string pulling on the top of your head to lengthen your spine. And then I invite you to draw into your mind something you've been holding on to that you feel like you are ready to let go of. It could be anger, resentment, negative feelings towards yourself, towards others. What can you let go of? Draw it into your mind. Inhale deeply through the nose. And as you exhale, sigh it out the mouth. And take that same cleansing breath, drawing in whatever it is you want to let go of into your mind. And exhale, sigh it out. And drawing your attention on your heart center. Give a little bit of gratitude for whatever lesson you may have learned from this thing you've been holding on to. Even the most difficult of experiences, when we pause and give gratitude for something we can get out of them. It helps us to forgive, soften the experience, and let go. It may feel good to even place your hands over your heart center. Sometimes we just need to forgive ourselves or express some gratitude to ourselves. And then gently release your hands. Draw your chin to your chest, blink your eyes open, drawing in the light. Then come on up. And I feel so good now, so I feel ready to draw. So go ahead and grab one of your pieces of paper. I'm going to start small, and I see some of my friends are watching, so that's awesome. Jessica, my sister, Michelle just came on. That's so exciting. All right, so grab any pen size you want and a piece of paper. And this is a practice you can do with your kids if you can get them to slow down. So if they're a little bit older, this might be fun for them. And you can mix it up with color and make it a little more exciting than just using a black pen. And then they can play with watercolors or whatever with the designs. So I'm going to start with, actually I'm going to start with a pretty thick one just for my first line, and then I'm going to switch it out. And I'm going to change my camera view, so hold on, it always takes me a minute to get this situated. And let's grab a pen. And we'll just start drawing a few lines. And I'm just going to draw, so if I look at this one's probably the most simple. So I'm going to start with something really simple. But this one, you're going to start with just a single waving line going down the page. And I like to run off the page. You don't have to. Normally I put something underneath this as well, but I did not remember to grab something underneath. So I'm just going nice and slow, steady. You can make it whatever shape you want. And I went ahead and went across the whole page. So I have a nice thick line there, and then I'm going to grab a slightly smaller pen. Actually, I'm going to do the outside first, and then I'm going to grab a smaller pen. All right. So basically, we're just going to make one shape on one side, and then we're going to fill it in with our repetition. So you can make it as wavy or as smooth as you like. I'm going to just blend it right into there. And then for this first one, I'm going to go ahead and make a second shape. And then the next round we'll do them separate, but I kind of want it to look a little bit like a one object. And you don't have to. I just like to blend it right in. And then I'm going to grab this. So that was a 0.8. Let's do a 0.3 for my next one. And probably want to rotate this. So with these, you have a choice where you want to start, because we just made two lines, but I'm just going to kind of start echoing this shape here and think about connecting it. And then when you're drawing, slow it way down. Use your breath. Sometimes it's a little bit tricky as we come through here. And it's okay if you run into it too early. We're just going to start repeating. So I'm going to start in the same spot. And you'll find as you go, it gets a little bit easier. Sometimes I lose my spot, so I got to overlap it. But it doesn't really matter if you make a mistake. It gets a little wobbly, so you can see I've got this texture of the paper that's making it wobbly. It's totally fine. It lends itself to the whole look of the piece. Just begin to slow it down. And I'm going to pull this a little closer so I can see what I'm doing. The hardest part about filming this is I have a camera right over my drawing, and it's really hard to draw. I tend to have to stop it, which I want to be continuous when I can. Just notice the grip of your hand if you're holding the pen tight. Maybe you can soften a little bit. It's okay, I'm running into the next line. Doesn't really matter. I am struggling to see today, so I might have to make some adjustments to my camera, but that's all right. Let's see what we can do. It's probably hard for you guys with my hand right over it. Nice and slow. This first one's going to look kind of janky, which is totally cool because I can do another one. Notice I'm kind of overlapping the start, so it makes that center line really nice and thick after you've completed your drawing. You can even extend it up, and it makes a really nice variance in the line size. This might be hard for little kids, but you never know. Some kids have got a lot of patience and love to sit and do things like this. It's a really nice way to get them off their tablets. All right, so there's my one side. So even though it's kind of wobbly and wonky, it looks pretty cool once it comes together. And then I'm going to just flip my page around and I'm going to start on this side. Nice and slow, slowing it down with your breath. Anytime someone says, oh, I can't draw, like I challenge you. I challenge you to slow down your drawing. You can do the most simple designs that can turn into something really beautiful. Or maybe it turns into something really ugly. That's okay. We all have different perspectives. So what you might not like, the next person just loves. And you might want to even experiment. Like if you do one really fast and then do one really slow and see how they compare to each other. And again, it's a little wobbly, but that's just the texture of my paper. I'm just going to try and loosen my grip and let it go as it wants. You can even see it starts to kind of take on its own shape and becomes almost like this, I don't know, three-dimensional quality to it as it takes on its own shapes. And I called this one Echoes of Nature, or Echoing Nature, because I thought of like the sound reverberating out, making these ripples, or like the ripples in water. And you can get some really beautiful patterns. Sometimes as I draw, I even say to myself, like, inhale, exhale. How slow can I breathe? Keeping my breath. And then how slow can I draw? And I'm just continuing on with the shape. And I love to see the formations that come out of it because everyone's going to be a little bit different, right? Just like a snowflake, we can all draw the same thing, but no two are going to be alike. And that's also the beauty of nature, right? No leaves that are identical. There's no people that are identical. We all have similarities, and yet we're all different. We're all unique. And if your eyes start to hurt as you go, just take a moment, look out the window, look up across the room, refocus your eyes. All right, so I could draw another one in here if I wanted, but I quite like what this one's doing. Maybe I'll just do like a little one in the corner, part of one. Sometimes I kind of look back at it and say, all right, what am I missing in my composition? And sometimes I add things and I'm like, oh, that looks stupid, but you know, you never know until you try. So, beauty of small pieces of paper is that they're small. Right, and on this one, I'm going to do a little bit more wave and just kind of do one side and see how that goes. Looks like a little pair of lips right now. And then I'm going to flip this around and just begin to draw, doing my same little echoing pattern. And this is a really small shape. This might be a good one to play with a thinner pen even. So I'm going to switch. And I'm going to grab my skinniest pen, let's see, 0.05. Although as I use these, they tend to get a little fat as I use them. But just to kind of play with the different pen sizes. If you mess up and go over the line, it doesn't really matter, you know what I mean? So I went over, but then I just extended it out. Slowing it down. Using your breath. Even within the shape, I'm kind of making it, transforming itself into another shape, which I love. All right, that's kind of fun. The question is, do I want to do one on the other side? Why not? All right, so I'm going to go ahead and extend this out. And just do a little bit of a shape here. And maybe this one's not even going to connect. So it's going to run right off the page. And I'm going to begin my repetition. Oops, I went off. No biggie. And, you know, there's no way to say, oh, this is going to be so bad. Because that's the whole point, is experimentation. And the beauty of these small drawings is if you screw up, you just grab another piece of paper. And it's okay to make bad art. But I do encourage you to finish a page, because, like, see how janky that got at the end? It's okay. Like, I might look at this later. I'm just going to fill in, actually. Do a couple more lines. I might look at this later and be like, oh, I really screwed that up, but I might not even notice tomorrow. All right, I kind of like that. Pretty. All right, so I'm going to call this one done and grab a new sheet of paper. I think for this one, and I'll grab a different pen. Maybe I'll do all of it in the same size. I'm going to do a 0.02. And then for this one, it's kind of a nice little bookmark shape. A little short, but that's kind of fun to use afterwards. I'm going to do a little bit of a variation. So we're going to take this first line. You can take it from wherever you want, but I'm just going to make a nice, simple curve one direction. And curve it back the other direction, and then maybe it curves one more time. So our center line is nice and simple. And then with these, I got a little bit crazy, right? So I went really wavy on my outside edges. So these were a little more complicated. You can do whatever you want. So I'm just going to start here, and I'm going to make this one nice and wavy on this kind of inside curve. And then just let it blend in. And then I'm going to go ahead and fill this one in. I'm going to zoom out here. I feel like it's getting a little blurry and hard to see. But I'm going to go ahead and fill this one in. Again with my repeating lines. And just allowing the line to kind of fall where it may. It's okay if it's a bigger gap than I wanted, no biggie. Again, slowing down my breath. And allowing it to just overlap. I think next class I will be back in my normal space, so hopefully the glare and the focus will be better than it is right now. It's a little bit hard to see. And once again, repeating, slowing it down. I love to think of these activities as just like a little bit of a meditation. So you don't have time to do this today, but I encourage you, when you are feeling a little bit stressed, maybe instead of watching TV in the evening, and I'm super guilty of this, so don't think I don't sit down and watch TV in the evening. But maybe you grab your drawing stuff, even while you've got the TV on or sitting with your spouse or kids or whatever, and they're watching TV, and you just do a little doodle. 10 minutes. And I started keeping my stuff set up where I can, or easy to grab. So I'm lucky enough I have my drawing table here. So I can just sit down if I feel like it. But if I'm painting something and I leave like the water out and the brushes out, I am so much more inclined to just stop for 10 minutes and paint versus like, oh, I got to get all this stuff out. It's never going to happen. And it's not out all the time, don't get me wrong, but I go through periods where I like feel like painting. Actually, this is one of those periods, so I think I'm going to do some painting this afternoon. I don't know if it's going to be working on a mural downstairs or if it's going to be do some watercolors. I'm really itching to do some lovely watercolors. All right, there's my first shape. And now I think I'm going to flip it around, say, okay, where do I want my next shape to go? And I feel like I could go here or here. I'm just going to go ahead and draw something. And then this one I'm going to make kind of like, I don't know, reminds me of like a leaf. Oops, and I ran out of space here. Draw that all the way down to the point. Lovely. And then I'm just going to start on this side. I'm trying to loosen my grip. I'm not the best at that. Sometimes it gets really tricky to keep your line continuous or not touch the other line as you go. And that line was drawn a little bit fast, so I'm going to slow it down again. I like to start with the overlap and end with an overlap, meaning my lines, instead of just stopping, it's just a really nice, this one's hard to do, it's kind of big, thick area of lines where they all meet and you get this lovely variation in value. We're just going to keep it going. And this one I made a little tricky for myself because I can't do the whole line without stopping and turning the page. And you can see my curves are getting less and less, which is fine. It doesn't really matter. I think for me, that's my natural instinct of just lessening the curve. But it makes for some unique shapes. Maybe I'll amp my curves back up on the next line. So I'm going to kind of exaggerate them here, make a little bit of a bigger gap. And I will say, you know, sometimes sitting down to draw is like, oh, come on, I'm not going to do that. Why would I do that? I have 10,000 things to do. But if you think of it as like self-care time, it's pretty amazing how calming it can be. If you don't have time to draw, and you have kids at home, just sit down and draw with the kids. Like, what a great family activity. And over Thanksgiving, my sister-in-law April came up with this really fun game where we had to draw each other. We had like 2 minutes to draw these portraits of each other, and they turned out so awful. We had the best time. I think we ended up doing like, you know, one of every person. There was 4 of us participating in the game. And we have a photo of them, and they're hilarious. And it totally didn't matter how bad they were. And then we had the guys guess who was the drawing, like who was who in the pictures. And then my brother-in-law Mark did a pretty good job. I'm going to draw one over here, actually. My husband Jeff, not so much. He couldn't tell anything. But it's pretty funny to think about you know, how we freak out when we draw, and it's like, oh, I can't draw, I don't have artistic ability, but then when you sit and do it, you can have so much fun and enjoy the experience so much, you would be like, never really realize that. All right, so I'm thinking, where do I want to go next? I think I'm going to do one over here, and then maybe I'll put something behind it. And, you know, I actually like the other one better than this one, but that's okay. Like I said, it's all about experimentation. I kind of like when it goes to nothing in the middle, so maybe the next one, that's what I'll do. Go ahead and just make your outer edge, whatever that is. And maybe I'll make this one kind of crazy. There, we went real wild. And then starting back up at the front, we can just slow down. And take your pauses as you need them, not forgetting to look out. Just to focus your eyes a little bit better. I'm going to do that right now. And then you can come back down. And if anyone's sitting and doing this, whether now or on replay, and they have an end result, please, please, please post it in our Facebook group. I would love to see it. And maybe if you have these pigment pens and then after this class you want to experiment with watercolors, that's my line there. The beauty of pigment pens is you can go right over your lines with the watercolor and just play with the color. And don't forget to breathe. I'll play with painting right after this, actually. Been itching to paint something this week, and I get all stressed out, the opposite of what I'm doing now. So maybe I'll do something small and take the pressure off. There's a reason great artists used to do studies, right? You just start with the paint on the page. It's so much pressure. So they would do sketches and small watercolor studies or small versions and get their ideas down first. And then when they liked something, they would take it and turn it into a larger scale item. All right, so this doesn't have much of a composition right now. So I'm going to go ahead and let's just put something behind here. Starting with my wavy line, and I'm not going to bring this one all the way out, but I'm going to make it look like it's going underneath. Oops, that got a little too wavy. Shoot. All right, well, that's going to be my outside edge because I don't like that. So I'm going to make a simple one here. All right, let's see. This is going to be my inside edge. Doing it backwards. You know, it doesn't really matter. And I'm going to fill this part out here. And then I'm going to pretend it continues as I go on the other side. And one more line. Nice little simple shape. And then I'm going to fill in this shape and then take a step back, see where it goes. And I'm going to run this one right off the page. So this one's going to nowhere. You can see where you overlap the lines, how it's building up and making that nice variation in color, value. All right, I feel like this needs something else. So I'm going to do one more from here, drawing my outside edge, and pretend it's coming underneath and then to the point. This one's going to be a little tricky trying to make it look continuous, but that's okay. We'll just stop there and bring it on up here. You notice I keep rotating the page because my hand gets in the way, so you want to kind of move around and do what you need to do to see. Sorry, I'm starting to sing to myself. It happens. All right, so I'm actually almost out of spaces here, but I don't think anyone will be the wiser if I just start filling this in. So Oops. All right, so here I'm just going to continue my shapes. Keep filling it in. Getting some lovely dark values up in the tip. I like that. And one more. And I feel like this has a big gap here, so I'm going to fill this one in here. Beautiful. So I really like how this quality is evolving here with the overlap. And then I'm going to take a step back. Say, okay, do I want anything else? Maybe I overlap and just do one more behind here. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how I feel about it. Or I could do something small in this corner. Sometimes if you just rotate around, you can be like, okay, no, that's cool. I think I'm just going to do something small down in here. And just a nice simple wave once again. And I'll go ahead and bring it behind. And let's see, I think I'm going to do one really wavy line here. Bring it right off the page, come back on, and meet there. And I'm going to start drawing on the side, just playing around with it. And I'm going to fill this one in a little differently, I think, just to see what it looks like. Sometimes when we change our direction or fill it in slightly differently, we get some nice effects. It might just look wrong and out of place. That's okay too. So I'm just going to do this little side first. I'm going to connect up here and do one more on the outside. There we go. That looks better. And then I'm going to start extending this down along here. And repeat it this way just to see what happens. And then let my overlap happen at the point. And see where I start. Sometimes I kind of give a little bit of an overlap. So like right here, I'm going to overlap. And if you do have kids at home, you can do a very simple version of this. And you know, if they're like 5, chances are they're not going to want to sit down for this activity and draw lines. But if they're like 7, 8, 9, they can probably do some version of this. And maybe you just use some nice colored pens. Some like gel pens would be great for this activity. I mean, they can experiment doing one in one color, maybe one in a rainbow color, so you can really make it fun for them. And they can kind of enjoy the repetition of shape that they get. All right, so here we are. Yeah, it's all right. It's always kind of interesting and fun to play with things. And I'm actually going to do, just for experimentation's sake, because I don't love this one anyways, but I'm going to add one like over here behind it, like ending in here, and just to see what this does. Just to see what happens when I overlap my shapes. It might just look like a continuation of the one I drew, which is fine. Oops, and I went over my line. That's okay. I'm going to go ahead and extend that out. This is where I need to pause and refocus my eyes. Looking away. And then coming back to the page. All right, we kind of have a nice little separation here, which is fun. I'm going to do one more line here, just kind of going over it just to like, there we go, kind of like that. You get that little bit of separation between my shapes. And it's kind of fun. And honestly, this kind of looks like it's connected to here more than that one. So maybe I just kind of play with this shape and I'm going to just bring it out. Just a few rounds of repetition, just to play. Liking that. You can see how, just the way you're drawing the lines changes the visual of it. And rotating it changes the visual of it. All right, so I'm going to set this one aside. And I'm going to get one more piece of paper. I'm going to get a smaller one, that bare one. This is probably 3 by 4, somewhere along those lines. And get a sip of tea. And let's just do one more. So this one I'm going to start down here. And once again, make some nice gentle waves all the way across the page. Beautiful. And then I'm just going to start making my outside shapes. So whatever shape you want this to be, it can be severely curved, like a wavy. I'll make this one a little bit wavier than the last two. Oops, pardon me. And it's so funny, as I'm looking at these, this one, like, honestly, I love the way these are looking, almost like these pods or leaves or whatever. So it's interesting how when you play with the outer shape, the form it takes on and what you like and what you don't like. So I'm just beginning to, curve it. And once again, it doesn't matter that that line just went in there. And I'm going to extend it down. I'm going to move my hand out of the way so I can see what I'm doing. And using my breath. It's really nice sometimes to take cleansing breaths, no matter what we're doing. Sighing it out. If you have a stressful day or stressful moment, oh my gosh, pausing and just doing a nice big inhale and sighing it out the mouth a few times really helps your brain function better, literally. When you get angry, all that gets so like impulsive, and sometimes you kind of lose sight of what you're doing. And a simple little bit of breath work can bring you back to your normal self. It has a name, I'm trying to remember. It's like your brain is like totally non-functional when you get angry or upset. I feel like Michelle would know this. Like it's something I learned in an HR class. Like you kind of just get to like caveman brain, I guess. All right, so there's one. So I'm going to do another one. And how do I want to do this one? I'm going to do it just on the other side of here. I'm going to kind of take that same pod-like idea, but I'm going to make it really curvy and just see how it turns out. And for anyone that's watching and that's joining late, these will be up on Facebook all week, and I'm starting to move everything into my YouTube account, and all my live videos are going to be in my YouTube. So that's the same as Creative Souls Yoga, and I put the link up the other day on the home page. I'm getting a little fast, I'm going to slow it down, and my grip's getting a little tight, so I'm going to let it go. Shake my hand out a little bit. Like all these videos up on Facebook are getting hard to find, and I can organize them and label them and edit them a little bit in YouTube. You can always go back. My art classes are on there, and there's a few missing still, so I'm working on getting them all over there. But these are all free classes. I do take donations if you enjoy the classes. But even more importantly, I would love it if you would share my classes. So really building the community is my priority right now. All right, there's one shape. Let's do something. I'm going to do something kind of, I don't know. I'm going to do something down here. Yeah, let's do this one. I'm going to make it kind of crazy and like out there. So really bringing it out. Oh, try that again. I'm really struggling with the camera in my way today. Okay, that's really wild. It's going to be hard to draw. But we're experimenting, right? I'm going to have to stop my pen mark and rotate as I go, like I did on the other one. And you can see where I messed up that little bit of a pen line, so that's a great spot to stop it. Bringing this over here. And you can see my shapes are not, I want a little fast. So let me slow it down, relax my hand a little bit. You can see where I started going fast, it got really janky in here. But once this is done, you probably won't even notice. So again, the beauty of this is we tend to look at the whole rather than these little tiny errors that we make. And then this class, I've decided to do my art classes bi-weekly. A couple reasons. Doing it weekly was, I don't know, I've got a lot of things going on. It's putting a little too much pressure on me. And they don't get nearly as many views as my yoga classes. So as I build these classes, I will do them maybe a little less frequently and just see what the interest is in them. If you enjoy these, please join my Facebook group, Creative Souls, Art and Yoga. And like my page, and you can follow me on Instagram. And I'm in the process of updating some things with my business that I don't want to reveal anything yet because I'm not 100%, but I believe I am going to be changing the name, but I'm not sure how that fits in exactly to this part of the business. So as I journey on in my health coaching training, I am starting that piece of the business, and I have a name for that. I feel like everything needs to integrate, so I'm trying to figure it out, even with the website. You can see my shapes are getting kind of crazy here. I'm going to slow it down a little bit more. And as we draw together, you can let this become whatever it is that you want to become. And sometimes it gets a little hard on the hands, so it's nice to kind of stretch the fingers out. Give them a little shake. And then you can pick your pen back up. You can see I've got big gaps. I've got spots where I've kind of messed up. Okay. The fun thing about this is finding just a little bit of inspiration and then stepping back when you're done and looking at the bigger picture. And maybe this is something you're like, oh, I want to come back to this later tonight. Great. You don't have to finish. I'm not going to finish. I'll finish this segment up, and then I think I'll stop for the day. And I think that's where I feel good. And it doesn't mean I can't come back to this piece and add. And I can do that with any of my pieces. I would like to, I put it in the comments, but just to mention it, this practice is taken from Mindful Art Studio. Amy Miracle, she leads weekly art classes, which I haven't been able to do the last few weeks, but well, she's just back, but I'm hoping to be able to start joining her classes again. She's got some great slow drawing activities, so just to give props to her. I like to do my own little twist on it. I love doing these repetitive lines and filling shapes differently. So no matter what your shape is, it's just a really nice property that, property is the right word, but it's like feeling, like this echoing, rippling feeling that you get with all these lines. So if you take a step back and look at it, you get this really cool feeling of like pushing out and looking three-dimensional. All right, so we've got just a few minutes left. I think I'm going to wrap it up for today. I'll flip the camera back around. Thank you for joining me, for those watching live, and please share this with anyone that you think might enjoy it. And I hope you have a wonderful day.